Alright guys, so I'm going to give you some practical ways to look at finding theme, but more importantly how theme develops over the course of a text. So here's the story that you should raise your hand and ask me for right now. If you don't have it yet and you haven't read it yet, press pause, and then when you finish reading it, press play again. Okay? So I'm assuming that you've read it. So here's what the story is about. So remember, we said the three ways that we find theme and how it develops is using the dynamic character, key events, and repetition. For this, repetition isn't really a possibility, so it's not expected in your answer. Remember, we said it's mostly going to be in poetry. It's mostly going to be in poetry. So looking at the story, I'm going to kind of briefly think of what are the key events. Okay, so key event number one, I'm going to say is the lion being awoken by the mouse and trying to kill the mouse. That's the first important thing. Number two, the mouse begs for his life to be spared. Number three, I would say hunters catch the lion. And number four, the mouse frees the lion. Okay? So now I'm going to think I have my four key events, and now my job to find the theme is to think, what do all of those events have in common? Okay? So they all have to do with capture, they all have to do with somebody being taken, they all have to do with somebody bigger than you capturing you, somebody bigger than you taking you, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud to show you the mental process that you go through. So what I think it really is about, what all these events have in common, is probably the idea of big versus small, right? So the first thing has to do with the lion saying, "Oh, you little mouse, I get to eat you." The second one is saying, "Oh, you big lion, we're big strong men and we're going to catch you and tie you up and now we're going to get you." So they're bigger and stronger. And then finally, it kind of comes back around where that idea isn't necessarily true, and the lion is set free by the smaller mouse. So that shows me through the key events that the theme is probably going to be something about size isn't always the most important. Another way to approach that is to think about the, thanks Merritt, is to think about the lion learning a lesson in terms of what goes around comes around, right? So we can see that in, he lets the mouse go, and then in turn he's paid back by the mouse. Okay, so those are two key events. He lets the mouse go, then the mouse comes back and saves his life, actually kind of like good karma. Okay, so that's how you use key events. That's what your answer would be when you're actually turning this into me on a test or something. The second way that we talked about, we can use the dynamic character. Okay, and in this, our dynamic character is definitely going to be the lion, right? So in the beginning, the lion starts out as this character who is mean and big and tough and says, "I'm dominant, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, so forget you, I'm going to eat you." And then he realizes by the end of the story that maybe that's not the case, that somebody who's smaller can help you. So he kind of has a change of mindset, right? He has an internal change, which makes him a dynamic character. So in my answer, I would say the theme is don't underestimate somebody. Don't underestimate somebody because of their size. And I can see that because the dynamic character lion goes from being the big and strong one, but when he's trapped and needs help, it's actually a smaller character that saves him. And so he has that internal change that shows the theme. Okay? Hopefully this helped you to see kind of a practical example of how to use our key ways of finding theme, dynamic character, key events, and if possible, you want to use repetition as well. Okay? Thanks for listening. I hope that helped.